I once thought my father was my strongest support, until he pushed me into the abyss. In betrayal and darkness, I was forced to become another person, Luna, the moon goddess. But the real me is just a painter yearning for freedom. Chapter 42. I hum softly on the back porch, quiet while listening to the sound of Sandra singing in the kitchen. I sigh and check my phone. Normally I don't carry it with me, and end up leaving it in the bedroom. But now I looked at it, turning it on and staring at the screen at it, waiting for Mark to call. But he didn't. He still was not answering my calls. I tried every night to reach him, and every night I left the same message. Are you okay? Is everything going okay? Please call me. Luna. I turn at the sound of the male voice. I don't know him, therefore I automatically shrink back, weary of who he is and what he wants. He takes in my defensive stance and smiles. I have a phone call for you. It's your father on the line. I stare at the male warrior with my mouth hanging open. My father. He cocks his head. Confusion on his face, yes. We both wait in awkward silence until he clears his throat. I have him on hold. You can pick up the phone in Alpha Atlas's office. I stare at the male several seconds more before I ask. Why is he calling? He said he wanted to check up on you. Lies. Father wouldn't do that. The warrior is giving me an odd look. I stand, trying to appease his worried glance. Thank you. I can tell him you are unavailable. No, it's fine. I wave away the thought. Walking up the study, I feel a small shiver rise within me as I think what it could be. The scent of Atlas's pine wood and honey though washes over me as I open the door to his office. It was just a phone call. He couldn't hurt me anymore. I cautiously pick up the phone. There is a silence until I whisper. Hello. I hear small noises in the background, and then Father's voice whispers into my ear. Hello, Lexi. I feel my legs give out as I sink into Atlas's chair. How are you? I swallow. My throat suddenly dry. I'm fine. And how is life as Luna? In my nervous state, I grab an earby pencil and begin to sketch a small figure upon Atlas's notepad. A distraction for my mind. Good. There is a pause in the conversation. I frantically think of what next I can say. But Father starts to talk. I guess you are wondering why I'm calling. Yes. He sighs into the phone. I didn't think it, Lexi. But I miss you. I stop my drawing and stare in surprise at a phone. What? I miss you. I was calling to see how you were and if. I don't know. If I could see you. Small incoherent sounds are coming out of me as I try to process what Daddy's saying. You miss me. Is that so hard to believe? Yes, I think back to our last conversation. That day in the clinic. Almost as if he knows my thoughts. Dad is sighing again into the phone saying, I know we didn't part in the best of ways before you left. And I'm sorry about that. I feel remorseful that should be your last impression of me. I want to be in your life again though, Lexi. Mark's words ring through my head like a silent alarm. This is the last time you'll see her. No, I don't think that's a good idea. Please, Lexi, let me make it up to you. I shake my head. He had no idea, still had no clue what was going on within my life and the darkness that was chasing after me. But then, a silent voice whispers in the back of my mind. You never told him. I can't get a hold of Mark either. Do you know where he is? I put my head down on the desk, confusion staining my thoughts on what to do. What to say now. There is another pause in the conversation before Father speaks. How about this? I know your position as Luna is busy, so I'll come to you. Tomorrow at noon. Wait, Father, I don't. I'll drive to the Alba Rosa Pack. I haven't even met your mate in person. Have I? Father laughs at the fact. Atlas is busy. That's so fabulous. Lexi. I almost want to yell at him that it's not Lexi but Luna. But I've never had that kind of courage against my father. Yes, I whisper instead. I'll meet you at the border. No, Father, he hangs up before I can finish. I stare blankly at the phone, looking at it as it lays in my hand. I don't know how long I sit there, with my head on the table. It's not until I'm jolted awake that I realize dark and the windows now hold the picture of the moon in their frames. I blink back the suddenness of the lights as Atlas switches them on. There you are. I groan and put my hands over my eyes, shielding them from the sudden exposure. Atlas walks over, lifting me as if I am nothing and softly placing me back down within his lap. You'd rolled on my papers. I look away, blushing from the sight. He laughs though and leans back within his seat, pushing me with him to rest against his chest. Why were you in here? I blinked twice, and again before the memories resurfaced to me. I gasp and sit up, Atlas following my movements as I turn to frantically face him. He looks at me alarmed. Your father. He called me. Is he okay? I shake my head. No, I mean, my father called me. He said he missed me. Atlas's eyes tell me he is not following, so I wave my hands, trying desperately to explain the relationship I had with my dad. My father doesn't call. Or at least, he doesn't call me. Atlas again stares at me, not quite grasping it. You don't like your father? No, it's not that. I mean, after all, he's my father, but... To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nelban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I sigh, frustrated that I'm not able to express into words my feelings. He never really paid much attention to me. He didn't like it when I started to paint. He always told me to stop. Atlas shrugs. Wasn't that just his way of protecting you? I feel my lips tighten as I recall the past. I wasn't sure what to tell Atlas. Was that how parents protected their children? Did they call them failures? Did they yell at them, telling them they would amount to nothing? Looking at Atlas, I wonder if Jay did that to him. I guess. I never really saw it like that. Atlas smiles down at me, leaning back within his seat. My father is my best friend. I smile at his words. They were cute. Atlas glances at me then. Did you have a best friend? Without hesitation I say. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nelban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Atlas's eyes narrow. He's not your friend though. He's your brother. Mark's my hero. Those blue eyes narrow further as they take me. Hero and NH. I smiled at Atlas and lean back against his chest, sighing as I say, Mark saved me. Mark has always been there for me. I owe everything to Mark. Atlas growls into my ear. Enough about Mark. I laugh at that. It's true though, Atlas. I know, and I will be forever grateful to him for saving my mate. I turn to face Atlas so he can see my smile. He smiles back, mating my expression. But then I remember the last part of my conversation with my father. Oh, Dad said he was coming to see me tomorrow at noon. Atlas's eyes narrow. You're meeting him at the border. I nod. I'd assign Jackson and Sarah to you then. I nod again. I wouldn't argue against the protection. The patrol guard should be stationed there also. You won't come. I almost wish he could, so that I didn't have to meet Dad alone. Atlas sighs. I have a meeting already scheduled at that time. Oh. I feel his hot breath tickle my ear as he whispers. But I'll be here waiting for you. I lean back in and smile. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad to see Dad if I had Atlas by my side. Chapter 43. I nervously look at my closet. I couldn't wear something childish. I could already see Father's disapproving glare if I wore my favorite yellow winter coat. Instead I reach for dark blue pants, black winter boots, and a long black with pink dots trench coat. Maybe Father would approve of this. I look down at my hands, covered in paint. They would be the first thing he sees. I stand by the closet door, silently debating before I sigh and grab a pair of pink winter gloves. Maybe he wouldn't say anything about them if I took them off while Atlas was in the room. The last completion to my outfit was the journal. I carried it everywhere with me. I still had not read it yet. I knew Atlas was anxious for my feedback. I knew it made him nervous for me to have it. But something held me back. Mainly because I was worried about what I would read. If there was anything in there about me. I glanced at the door to Atlas's office. I could hear the faint sound of his and other voices coming through. Still in their meeting. Walking down the stairs, I met with unfamiliar faces. The old male, his hair is salt, pepper color and eyes a light brown, is standing before me. He looks to be in his 50s, but even with the signs of age, his features show that he is a skilled warrior. The girl on his left is young, maybe even younger than me, but she stands at attention, her eyes alert and bright blonde hair sticking out in all places from her messy bun. I nod silently to them as the maid approaches me. Luna, Alpha Atlas assigned us to you for today. I'm Jackson. He motions towards the girl. This is Sarah. I whisper a small hello, cringing at how soft my voice is. Jackson, however, smiles. The car is ready when you are, Luna. I nod and move forward. Sandra waves goodbye. Should I have tea ready for when you get back, Luna? I pause at the door, thinking what the best route would be to take in order to please Dadam. Yes, that's a good idea, Sandra. Sandra smiles and nods, turning back and cheerfully humming in her work. I sigh and step out into the cold air, letting it soak into my face and slap away my fear. Over here, Luna. Jackson walks towards a black truck. I blush when he holds his hand out to help me into the back. The drive is silent. I know it's around a 15 to 20-minute drive to the border. Thank you for coming. Sarah gives a curt nod in my direction, but Jackson just laughs. It's our job to protect you, Luna. I stay silent, but he continues. I remember when Atlas was just a pup. Sarah groans in the passenger seat. Not this again. Don't you think his mate would want to hear this, Sarah? Her only response is stare silently out the window, letting Jackson continue. I used to be a warrior under Alpha J. I watched Atlas grow to be a fine wolf. I was even there where he challenged his father. I look at Jackson, his story piquing my curiosity. You were there when Jay met Daisy also. Jackson smiled. That's another story. I lean back in my seat and nod. The rest of the short drive continues in silence until we stop at a fork in the road. Jackson gets out, rushing over to open my door. I hear Sarah sigh, but the male has me smiling as he helps me down. Your father said he would be here at noon. I nod, looking down the road to see if there was any sign of his incoming truck. Suddenly I'm thrown to the ground. I gasp at the impact, and look up to see Sarah's wide eyes. Incoherent sounds come from the both of us, but soon small screams of terror are fleeing from my mouth as I realize something. Red Sarah is covered in red, and is painting me in the color. SS, Sarah. Run, Luna. She rises from the ground, her body shaking and eyes glowing gold, but before she can shift, she is hit again. Her form falling and crushing in on me once more. I scream, but her weight is thrown off me when I see Jackson's frantic golden eyes. Ambush. He grabs me, tossing me with little thought into the truck as he himself climbs on top of me, slamming the door shut. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Jackson ignores my words, his breath heavy. That's when I realize his arm is covered in red. He growls, his eyes gold as he reverses the truck. He throws a phone my way. I drop the slick item, my eyes widening when I realize it's covered in red. Call the Alpha now. Jackson roars. I quickly open the phone, my fingers fumbling and shaking over the numbers. The phone starts to ring. Pick up. Suddenly, though, another vehicle appears out of nowhere, crashing in front of ours. I scream as we slam to a halt. A fuss impacts into my face. Airbag. The afterthought leaves my mind. The phone is still ringing. Pick up. Jackson is out and shifting before I can even blink, showing his depth of how skilled a warrior he truly is. I hear the click as the phone connects, but suddenly it's gone. I look up, frantic, and freeze when I meet my father's eyes. He smiles down at me, closing the phone as I hear faintly in the background, Alpha Atlas. Have you reached the border yet, Jackson? He throws the car door open, that same smile still on his face. He's coming, Dad shouts. I turn to see who he's talking to, but realize there are two wolves, Jackson and another. I feel my world stop as my eyes land on the other wolf. I knew that wolf. Father grabs my arm, twisting it behind me. I scream in pain. The sound distracts Jackson, creating the opening he needs to sink his teeth into Jackson's neck. No. I stand there, watching as father restrains me. A wordless scream unable to leave my mouth as the wolf stands over his kill. Until he shifts. That red hair, those green eyes. They stalk closer to me. I knew them all too well. I start to tremble, uncontrollably and unable to stop as his naked form stands in front of me. Old horrors of the past now becoming fresh wounds. He leans in and takes a deep, contented breath. Finally, Maya. Chapter 40. For I wake up to darkness. Darkness and pain. I'm frozen on the ground, unable to move. My eyes are wide as flashbacks resurface and burn into my mind. Run, Luna. I quickly stand, disoriented because I cannot see. I stumble back a few steps and fall onto a hard surface. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Feeding the outline. I can make out what the item is. I softly touch my face. I wince when my hand reaches my nose. Broken. The impact from the airbag had caused it. My whole body hurt from the collision, but I don't dare make a sound. But father. Why had father done that? I gag and quickly put my hand to my mouth, but the process only causes me to gag even more. It's no use. Without warning, I'm throwing up on the cot. Ground. I don't know. Unlike I suspect. The sound has alerted my captor that I'm awake. Lights flicker on. I close my eyes to the sudden brightness and put my head down, wrapping my arms protectively around my head, blocking away the approaching sound of footsteps until they stop in front of me. I can't move. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I was a coward. His voice penetrated into me, a knife pinning my soul against wall to stop me from any movement. It's not until I feel cold fingers upon my flesh that I begin to scream. Maya. Maya baby. Those green eyes. I wore my head away, desperately trying to get out of his grasp, but he soon has me pinned down against the cot. I've missed you, baby. His voice is close to my ear, reaching into my mind and clawing away at what little sanity I was able to amass. I look up and there he is, smiling. I'm frozen in place as I watch him take the collar of my shirt and slowly inspect the corners of my neck. Good. Good he didn't get you. Clear relief on his face as he pulls back. I don't understand why you thought you belonged to anyone but me, Maya. He shakes a finger at me, a playful smile tugging at his lips. You've been a bad mate. I intend to punish you for it. My F.A. father. I'm barely able to get the word out. What? Oh yes. Richard helped me. He knows what it's like to lose a mate after all. My eyes widen at what he is saying. He looks down at the mess I've made, talking as he slowly turns to the exit. Don't do that again, Maya. I don't know to what he is referring to. Silently I watch him close and lock the metal door. It's not until he is gone that I start to scream. I cling to my head, the pressure becoming too much as I cry. I had never seen it like that. I had never thought of it that way. That father would do something so cruel to me because he was just as twisted as him. But it never occurred to me that father broke on that day also. It never occurred to me that on that day, when cars collided, two wolves lost their mates. Chapter 45. I'm rocking back and forth, taking in the reality. I could pray to the moon goddess whom I never talked to, or to any divine spirit above, for Atlas to save me. But as the hours go by, I wonder if I will have to relive my darkness over again. There is something different about it this time. Maybe because I know what will come, because I have a small taste of knowledge of the cruelty I'm about to face. I'll fight him. I think back to those months with Jay. I think about Atlas, when I told him how I didn't fight him the first time. I'll fight him. This time would be different. Even if the outcome came out the same, I could at least say that I didn't make it easy. I could at least say that. I shift on the cot and feel a bulky weight in my pocket. I gasp when I reach down and touch the leather binding of Atlas's journal. I should read it, in case anything happens. So, to pass away the hours of my horror, I open the cover, taking in Atlas's scribbled words. To my surprise, the first entry starts on the very first day we met. I look up and around the room. Atlas's words. I touch my cheeks, feeling the hot tears slide down them. They offered an escape, yet so much more than that. They offered me a glimpse into my mate. I flip the page, taking note of the date on the page. I recall when it was. The meeting. This was the day I had met the pack. I press a hand to my chest. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Oh, Atlas. I couldn't even imagine how he had the strength to burn his other works. Maybe, since they were about me, I was biased, but his words caused a torrent of emotion and heat to spread over me. It was his own way of protecting me. Don't think of the darkness. Think of me instead. Eyes on me, Lexi. Atlas's words have me blushing. Blushing because even back then I had been blissfully unaware of just how much he had wanted me. I shiver at such words and read on to the next page. My heart speeding up when I realize it's that night. That night when Atlas ripped my canvas. That night he showed distorted features of his anger to me. Showed me that we both, in our own way, were broken. I skip ahead a few pages, not willing to read the dark unfolding of what else he thought of himself. I would read that later, when I didn't have my own darkness looming in front of me. My eyes pause on what seems to be a blank page. It's near the middle, but curiously enough, upon either side, letters occupy the empty space. Just this page. I lean in and realize that upon the top there is a small scribble that reads. I smile at his words and look down to see that there is another sentence. In smaller text at the bottom, continuing on as it says, I can't help it. Even in my current situation. Even with the demon locking me inside these doors. Even with Atlas gone from me. I laugh. The sound of the door unlocking has me quickly sobering up and shoving the small journal back into my pocket. Those green eyes emerge from the entrance. What's funny, Maya? I stiffen and push myself back, further into the wall as the reality of my situation comes crashing back down to me. Nothing. I whisper. He smiles and takes a few steps closer. I eye the open door. I'll fight this time. I heard you laugh though, Maya. What? I shake my head. I was just coughing. He pauses and narrows his eyes at me. You'll lie. His words have my eyes widening as he suddenly grabs me. I yell, throwing my weight against him. Think about the training. Jay, what did Jay teach you? Through my panic, it comes back to me in a frantic haze. I try to think of what Jay told me. Weak spots, Lexi. If you're attacked, go for weak spots. I kick out, trying to impact his groin area. I miss though and collide with his knee. The sound sending shivers of cold terror up me as suddenly he is on top. Eyes flashing gold and teeth elongated. Maya. Playing rough are we? I desperately try again, but his legs are pinning mine. His arms are pushing my hands down. Without warning, he is ripping away my coat. I cry out and shake my head. Not again, not again, not again. I'll fight this time. It was easier said than done. Every part of me wanted nothing more than to curl up and cry. Everything inside me wanted to accept what seemed to be the inevitable and give up. But those blue eyes came into my mind. I cry out and thrash, buckling under his weight, but he only laughs and pushes me down further, constricting my movements even more. He bends down, his tongue sliding up my face as he lets out a contented sigh. You are so beautiful when you cry. Angry that I am giving him something that makes him happy. I've always thought that. How beautiful you were when you cried. I'm sorry I made you cry so much. Maybe because I thought you were just too beautiful. His tongue rakes down my face, his violation leaving small shocks down my body. In the back of my mind, deep in the dark corners of it, I feel my wolf stare. Help me. She doesn't move. She presses deeper in, blessed with the luxury of being able to escape from reality. Please. She makes no motion. I can feel her silent acceptance. She's already accepted that it will happen again. No, we can fight him this time. Please. Help me. Then it hits me. Her disapproval. Disapproval that I managed to get in this situation, not once but twice. Hurt that I would betray my mate again. I shut down after that. Cal notices. He sighs and gets up, pushing back a stray piece of hair from my face as he slowly walks back to the open door. Sleep well, my Maya. He whispers, before flicking the lights and evoking me in darkness. Chapter 46. My nose is swollen. I touch it and wince at the tenderness. I had no mirror, but I could tell that with it came black eyes. I can't bring myself to read any more of Atlas's journal. I lay on the cot, staring at nothing as the darkness evokes my senses. I don't move, even when the lights flicker back on. Lexi. I sit up when my real name is called. Standing in the doorway is Father. I sit frozen as he looks at me and smiles. How are you doing? The question has me gasping in confusion. Dad, why did you do it? He looks at me in confusion before stepping further into the room. I slowly rise from the cot. I knew Father was a skilled warrior, but something about my anger made him seem like an easier target than Cal. Something about him made it seem probable in my mind that I could get past him. Cal called me a couple weeks ago. I haven't heard from him in years. Father muses over the fact before refocusing his attention back to me. He told me the truth, that I had been tricked into letting Atlas take you. But Cal was your real mate. A strangled noise comes out of my throat. Dad, Cal's mate is Maya. Dad shakes his head. No, Cal told me that was a mistake. He said Alpha Brand unlocked him away and made you become the Luna of Alba Roses so that he could gain the advantage over such a large pack. I stare. Slack-jawed at Father. And you believed him? Father stares at me and smiles. I knew it was strange that you were mated to an alpha. I knew there was really no way it could be true. A strangled sob leaves my throat from his words. BB, but it is true. I whisper. Father shakes his head and slowly backs away from me. I rise from the cot, stalking closer to him. He smiles as he watches my movement. No, see, Cal told me they had deluded you to think you were more than what you should be. At the same time and without warning we both move, me running towards the door and Father slamming it shut. I hit the solid surface, crying out in pain when it makes contact with my face. I scream in pure what pain. For him to hear. He's lying to you. Please. I hear Father on the other side. His laughter. It didn't sound like him though. I cry when I realize that the sound was eerily similar to Cal's own laughter. It sounded broken. I'm just protecting you. Lexi, I'm letting you be with your real mate. No, I whisper the word, letting my forehead fall onto the cold metal surface. Cal will fix you. He'll see those hands of yours and fix you. Liquid ice runs down my veins when I process his words. I look down, taking in the pink winter gloves that still covered my hands. Everything will be okay, Lexi. Father whispers, his voice faint as he reassures me from the other side. Chapter 47. What are you going to paint, Lexi? To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Noban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Good. Good, Lexi. Tell me. Describe to me how you'll paint the cloud. Blue. I would start with a pale blue for the sky. What next, Lexi? You wouldn't expect it. But I would dab the middle with grey. A dark grey. To create the background of the cloud. Go on. It will make shadows. And be the underside. Then I would add the white. I would put it above the grey and bring it down to mix the colours. And then I would need pure white. I would clean my brush. Or maybe get another one. A smaller one that had thicker blend to it. And I would add the pure white. Good, Lexi. Good. Keep thinking of that. Keep thinking of that cloud for later. For when you get back to your paints. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I opened my eyes, taking in the surface of the concrete ceiling. Clouds. I envied clouds. No one could touch them. They were always so high up, so free. I turned my head to the sound of the door opening. It occurs to me then that I've not eaten in the past days. Since I've already thrown up in the room, Cal could handle any other of my body's fluids. And no one had taken me to the restaurant. I ignored the smell from the corner. It didn't matter anyway. The door continues to open until it's fully ajar. Cal stands there, smiling down at me. I don't move. Part of it is because I am weak. Weak from hunger and dizzy from the pain on my face and in my body. Maya. He walks closer. He doesn't comment on the smell. His eyes never leave my face. In one motion he's on top of me, straddling me. I gasp and jerk away, shuddering from the feel of him, and from the pressing weight of his body on mine. Maya. I've waited long enough. I can't help it. Even though I know it will make him happy, I still feel tears roll down my face. He sighs and leans forward, scooping the liquid up with his tongue, the rough texture scraping away my composure. You are so beautiful when you cry. I shiver at his words. He rips away the rest of my coat. To my agent extraordinaire, monster.丨Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I thrash under, trying to get him out to weigh anything, but he grabs my hands, pinning me down, and to my horror is pulling off my winter gloves, exposing my paint stains for his eyes to see. He freezes when he realizes what it is. I watch him, holding my breath and not daring to move, as those green eyes slowly travel down to my face. What is that, Maya? My body is shaking. I bite my tongue, the taste of blood filling my mouth. I can't control the trembling motion of my lips. He leans forward and grabs one of my hands, raising it so he can press it against his face, taking in its scent. Paint. His eyes turn golden as he looks down at me. Wolves don't paint Maya. Then they flicker. I feel my world crumbling down because all at once I'm transported back to those woods. That moment, that flicker, I knew what that meant. And suddenly he's there. Cal, the real Cal. The broken Cal. He blinks twice at me, the haze of his mind releasing its claws from him. And a single tear lands on my face. You're not Maya. My eyes widen. My breath is hitched, stuttered, uneven. Cal lets go of me, his hands going to his hair in confused frustration as he grabs a handful with each hand. But if you're not Maya then? He takes deep and even breaths, his own now matching mine as we both look at each other. She wouldn't want this. It's the only words I can think of. Unfortunately, it's the wrong words. Those golden eyes spark up again, flashing at me in anger. You don't know Maya. You're not her. His head falls on my chest, sobs racking his body as he screams into me. I need Maya. I feel tears of my own drip down. I'll fight this time. I slowly raise my hand. It's shaking so much that I almost think I'm having a seizure. But I manage to rest it on his head and give a soothing sound as I stroke his hair. It's not enough. He raises his head and I know, as he looks down at me, it's not enough. Without warning, he backhands me. The pain too much for my face and already broken nose. I feel fresh blood drip down from it because of the impact. You'll have to do, I guess. No, please. Please. Begging. I was begging now. Anything. I would do anything to keep him away. Shut up. His claws come out and slowly rip away at my shirt, leaving me exposed. So much like the last time. This was so much like the last time. Maya was more beautiful. He runs his claws down, letting them slide down the side of my body and create long shallow cuts before he snaps the middle of my bra, letting it fall down. Maya's breasts were more beautiful. His hands go towards my own breasts as he roughly kneads them with his fingers. I scream from the contact and throw my hands at him, trying desperately to sink my nails into his eyes. He catches them though, looking down at the stained flesh before spitting out. To my agent extraordinaire, monster.丨 Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I'll fight this time. I sob up my silent chant. I wouldn't let him take me so easily. Cal shakes his head. Don't you remember the words I told you last time? I'm going to ruin you so that no one else will want you. I moan my anger, sorrow, and suffering and cry violently as he repeats the words of my demons back to me. His words are cut off by a sudden gurgle. I stop and freeze as I watch blood pool in his mouth and drip down onto my face. A blood-curdled scream when his body lands on mine. Suddenly, though, his body is roughly pushed to the floor, the weight no longer crushing my lungs. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. The thought is the first thing I think, but looking up, I don't see Atlas. I see Daisy. She is already wiping her knife on her shirt and putting the blade back in a holder that rests on her hips. Silently, tears fall down me as she wordlessly approaches me. Without hesitation, she embraces me. It seems like the last thing anyone should do after what just happened to me, but I fall into her warmth. I sob at her touch and wrap my own arms around her, not caring at all that I'm naked on the top and dripping with blood. I don't know how long we stay like that, me clinging and sobbing onto Daisy as the body of my demon lays cold and unmoving beside me. Chapter 48. Daisy hands me her coat. Like a caretaker, she pulls it over my head, careful with the fabric, and making sure it does not hit my face. Then she helps me up. My father. I whisper out my question. Unconscious, Daisy says. I nod and we silently walk out of my prison. I look around, taking in what looked to be a shed. My father's body is there, unconscious and tied up. Daisy still has her arm around me as she pulls out her cell phone, pressing it to her ear. She waits several seconds before I hear the other line click and the sound of Jay's voice faintly coming through. Little Moon, where are you? Daisy smiles into the phone, but it's a sad smile. Hey, hot stuff. We found her. There is a pause. I hear a shuffling on the phone before a sob reaches my ears. You found her. You actually have her. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. His voice breaks my heart as I take in the desperation of it. Yes, Atlas. Daisy pauses and looks down at me, her face showing all too well that unanswered question. Yes, she whispers. I feel my knees tremble when the sound of Atlas's broken sobs come through. Thank you. Thank you. A faint red appears on Daisy's cheeks. She glances down at me, but I am too far gone. I'm swaying, barely able to hold myself up. If not for the help of Daisy, she needs medical attention. We are not far from the pack. I'll bring her to the clinic and meet you there. Before Atlas can respond, Daisy is hanging up. I gasp when she leans down, picking up my knees. She's strong, not like me. I wasn't strong. After all my efforts, chance and stealing myself in, I still wasn't able to stop him. If Daisy had not been there, I feel fresh tears make their way down my face at the cruel reality. Stay with me. Lexi, stay with me. Daisy's soothing words have me clinging to her as she continues to walk through the forest. We stay like that, in silence until we reach the main road. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. A truck is waiting. How did you find me? Atlas didn't find me. Jay didn't. The pack didn't find me. So how did Daisy? Daisy gives me a grim smile. Let's just say, the moon owes me many favors. I'm too confused by her words to ask what she means. I sigh and sink into the seat of the truck. She turns the heater on, letting the warmth wash over me. Lexi, I don't want to ask this, but I have to. Did he? I shake my head. Thank you. I look up to see tears trailing down Daisy's face. I'm sorry I didn't come sooner. I continue to stare at her, awed by this woman's power. It's another 20 minutes or so before we reach the border. The patrol guard stops Daisy, but upon seeing me runs to the door. Luna, I don't have the energy to raise my head, and instead, I look away. To my agent extraordinaire, monster.丨Soul, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Let us through. She needs to see drive. Schulman. The guard eyes Daisy with suspicion. I need to call Alpha Atlas first. Does he know you have the Luna? Daisy's eyes flash a bright blue. It's eerie and as both me and the guard gasping as she bares her teeth at him. Let us through. Without a word he steps back, his throat bobbing in fear and hands raised in defense. Daisy spits out a parting threat before continuing. I don't want Atlas to see me. My confession is said out loud. Daisy doesn't growl. She doesn't threaten me. She softly reaches forward and strokes my hair. Let your mate comfort you, and let the sight of you comfort your mate. You are not alone anymore, Lexi. You don't have to face this alone. A sob rips from my throat as I take in her words. We pull up the clinic and there he is. Atlas rushes to the door and stops at the sight of me. I look away. I look away from those blue eyes. He touched me, Atlas. I want to look over and say those words. He touched me and I let him. I let him put his hands on my body, a body that should only be touched by you. Atlas gently raises me from the seat. I close my eyes to the feel of his heat, to the sensation of flames burning at my skin. He walks me slowly inside, careful the whole way. Daisy follows him, and I see Jay waiting in the hall. His shoulders fall in relief when he sees me, but his whole frame crumbles in pure reassurance at the sight of Daisy. I manage to hear his whispered words to her. I thought you had run away, little moon. Never. I almost want to smile at the interaction, but my face can't seem to form the shape. I look up when I hear the comforting sound of drive. Schulman. Atlas set her here. Atlas gently places me on one of the beds. Drive. Schulman looks at me before calling out. She appears in the doorway, nodding to Drive. Schulman in acknowledgement. Will you take care of Lexi? Daisy's eyes soften at his words. Of course, Decidia. Schulman slowly, with his age showing in his trembling fingers and walk, reaches for Atlas. Come, Atlas. Atlas's eyes flash gold, and a low growl emerges from his throat. I whimper at the noise, shudder at the sight. He flinches from my sound, his eyes growing wide as he takes me in. His shoulders fall in defeat as, wordlessly he trails behind Drive. Schulman, closing the door to seal Daisy and me in. Daisy rushes to the door, opening it just a crack. She turns to me, her eyes wide. I know. I sigh in relief. She knew. We don't say a word as she brings me to the bathroom, as she strips me of my clothes and sets me in a steaming tub of water. She hums softly, the sound comforting to my soul as she washes away the blood, leaving me bathing in a water of pink. Let's fix that nose. Daisy whispers after I'm dried and dressed in clean sweats and a jacket. With my cuts wrapped, she gives me pain medicine, apologizing beforehand for the discomfort before she quickly jerks the bones back into place. It will take longer to heal, but you'll be okay. I look up and meet her dark blue eyes. Will it be okay? I whisper. Daisy bends down, letting herself be eye level with me. It hurt, didn't it? Yes, I say, the word faint and soft. But it's over now. You'll still feel that pain, but it's the aftershocks. And you'll have scars. But you will be okay. I note fresh tears in my eyes now. Thank you. Daisy hesitates before she slowly embraces me. I heard you fighting Lexi. I heard you fighting like hell for yourself. Thank you. A barrier breaks inside me at her words. I cling to her. This female whom I had looked at and questioned. This female whom I avoided and never really knew what to say to. This female. She had saved me. Chapter 49. I sit up when I hear the door opening. Red hair and green eyes are staring at me. I close my eyes and blink twice before I take in the light brown hair and matching eyes. To my agent extraordinaire, monster.丨Soul, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He stands in the doorway, smiling softly at me before walking closer. Lissy. He sits down at the foot of the bed, and slowly reaches for my hand. I let him take it. Normally Mark knew that I didn't like contact, but I knew something was different. Something told me he needed this. And maybe, in a way, so did I. I'm sorry, Lex. His words come out strangled within his throat. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I couldn't stop him again. I look down and shake my head. Mark repeats my actions and shakes his own head. We both know it. I look up and smile. He didn't get that far this time. That doesn't matter, Lex. He still hurt you. He still touched you. And Dad. Angry tears well up in Mark's eyes as he furiously wipes them away. The fucker was more messed up than the other one. I give a small laugh at Mark's angry remark. He glares at me. What's funny about, it's not funny. I sigh and look down at our held hands. It's not funny. We sit in silence until Mark speaks. Alpha Brandon imprisoned him. He killed another member of a pack. I nod and look out the window, Lex. I look back to Mark as I take in his voice. He smiles softly at me. What are you going to paint, Lex? I smile back at him. Our own little form of therapy. I'm going to paint a rose. He nods. Good. Good, Lexi. Tell me how you paint the rose. I sigh and lean back. Mark falls next to me, resting beside me as I raise my hands. And so I describe it to him. Chapter 50. I'm sitting on the back porch, watching the clouds. I don't turn around at the sound of footsteps. I know whose footsteps. Atlas sighs and sits next to me, raising his head to take in the floating forms. I envy the clouds. He doesn't say a word as slowly. I reach my hand out towards the white silk that hung in the blue sky. No one can touch them. Atlas looks down, his hands falling to his knees as he whispers, No one can touch you. I look at him then. Our eyes meet as he examines me. No one can touch you. Lexi, I swear it. Even me. Even I cannot touch you. I look away from his eyes and stare down at my hands. Pink. I had created the rose I described to Mark. A pink rose. Pink like the color of the bathwater after Daisy was done cleaning me. I need you though. Atlas starts, visibly jerks back. From my words. What? I look up and smile. I read your journal. While I was gone. It was beautiful. He stays silent, still watching. But I left it there. And I don't want to go back. My words trail off into themselves as his eyes grow hard and face stiffens. Will you? Write me another one. He stares at me, thoughtful before slowly nodding his head. He rises to leave me alone. Before he can know I say, You can come back, you know. He stops and turns around. He face confused as to what I mean. I blush but brave forward. You don't have to sleep away from me. It would be better. I mean if you don't mind. You being there would make me feel better. Atlas's breath hitches and grows unsteady. He nods and quickly looks away, leaving me in my silence. I wake up the next day with the fading warmth on his side. And a note. I gasp at the words and slowly put the paper away, letting the beautiful poetry rest within my paintbrush tray. Art mixing with art. It continues like that. Sitting on a porch. I look down to see a note has been taped to the step. I gently peel back the tape and cradle the paper in my arms protectively, hiding the words away with the note from the morning nestled against it. The whole day I am looking. My eyes are unconsciously scanning for another note. I only find one more, taped to my easel. I laugh at the line. Amazing. Atlas was amazing. I look down at my paints and slowly an idea of my own forms. I go into his office, sighing in relief that he is not there, before I carefully paint a small moon on the handle to one of his drawers. Then I go to the dinner table. Sandra cries in outrage when she stumbles across me, and continued to shake her head in despair as she watched me paint the sun on the small corner of the table where Atlas sat. That night I lie tense in bed, waiting for Atlas to come in. I feel my body go rigid as the door opens. He softly walks in and whispers, Thank you. I don't move, but I know that he's aware of my acting. We don't say a word though, and instead continue to press our back to the other. His words spilling into my mind. Hopefully my sun and moon were consuming his own thoughts. Chapter 51. Daisy sits on the back porch with me. She looks at the rocking chairs, taking them in. Something wrong. Tearing her gaze away, she smiles and shakes her head. I sigh and lean back, looking at the clouds. Daisy looks up with me. Atlas told me you had a fascination with clouds. I look at Daisy, surprise clear in my voice. Atlas told you that. Daisy reaches her hand up, so similar to the many times that I've extended my own arm towards the clouds. Yes, she whispers, bringing her hand back down and examining it. Her eyes land upon my paint-stained hands. Why do you keep the paint on your hands? I look down and stare also at my hands. I know about what you hide underneath, but you don't have to hide them anymore. I want to ask her how she knows, but the better part of me lets it go. In the end, it didn't matter. I don't think I can stop. I admit, I think they offer some comfort to me. I feel safe with them on. Daisy looks out into the woods that line the backyard. She sighs and shakes her head. Atlas told me about the clouds. He opened up to me. Daisy's amazed eyes reach mine. I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but it's because of you. I lean my head to the side. How he told me he forgave me for everything because I saved you. He said because I did that, I saved him as well. And then he just opened up. I laugh at Daisy's exasperated expression. I think Daisy, he's wanted to for a long time. But he needed a reason. Daisy gives a frustrated sigh. Us and our stubborn males. I laugh with her, feeling relaxed suddenly as the blue pushes along their white carriages up above. You did though. Glancing at her before looking away. You did save me. Daisy smiles. In a way, you saved me also, Lexi. I shake my head. This is too mushy. Very mushy. Daisy agrees. I pause and look at her. The funerals are tomorrow. She looks at her hands again. I see her eyes water, but her tears stay at bay. Jackson was an amazing wolf. I knew him since I first arrived at this pack. He treated me well, and he respected Jay. He is very sad with him gone. I look up at the sky, reflecting back to Sarah. She was too young. She hadn't even met her mate yet. Had not experienced the different opportunities and emotions that life brought. Run, Luna. As Luna, it's your duty to be there. I nod. I know. Daisy reaches for my hand. I let her take it. She traces the lines of red. It's a color I've been using in my paintings lately. Are you ready to be Luna? I look at Daisy, taking in her dark blue eyes. I was never Luna, so I don't have any advice to give to you. But if you have Atlas, I know you'll be fine. I smile and nod. If I had Atlas, I would be fine. Chapter 52. The pack gathers around, taking in the two burning fires. Jackson and Sarah had both been cremated. I watch as Atlas throws their remains into the flames, repeating the process all over again. We stand there, side by side. Other members of the pack come and go, adding their own objects to the flames. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Loban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Loban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Small objects that remind them of their fallen companions. Atlas looks down. I softly take his hand, crossing his fingers with my own. We did this with Jackie who. I feel stupid for asking the question, but I don't know who this female Atlas speaks of is. She used to be the pack cook. Before Sandra. I nod and move closer to Atlas, trying in some small way to comfort him as memories of the past resurface. And Nove, your grandmother. I whisper. Atlas's dark blue eyes land on me with surprise. The flames create an eerie glow in them as they reflect back. How did you know that? I smile and shake my head. He smiles back and sighs. I bet it was Schulman. I gasp at his accurate guess. I thought it would happen to my father also. When he was sick from being away from Daisy for so long. I squeeze his hand in comfort. Have you forgiven Daisy? Atlas sighs yes. We stand there together, watching the twin flames flicker in and out. I study the colors, taking note of the red, yellows, and oranges, but also the light tips of blue that can be seen around the edges. I don't think I've ever painted flames before. Such a destructive thing. In this moment, though, I thought them rather beautiful. She saved you when I couldn't. I will forever be grateful to her. I look up to meet his gaze. I think it's time I let go of this hate. I nod and lean against his frame, letting our warmth combine. It's time to let go of this pain. I whisper quietly. I feel the soft touch of his lips as he kisses the top of my head, the feel of his hand as he strokes my head. Together we watch the fire flicker within our sight, letting it burn away and consume our gaze. Chapter 53. Fast Alexei. I puff out my cheeks, desperate to get more air within my lungs. Jay's only make me angry, as a slew of curses flows from my mouth. That a girl. I glare at the ground as Jay shouts, "Final sprint. You can run faster than that." I groan and pump my arms harder, willing myself to believe Jay's impossible words. Upon passing him I collapse, but I'm quickly pulled back up as Jay scolds me. No. You know you'll get cramps if you lay down." "I already have cramps," I gasp. Jay smiles and slowly walks me around. After my nose had been reset and healed, Jay suggested my training to resume. I found out then what a few weeks of rest could do to my body. It felt like I was back to square one. Jay laughs and shakes his head. "You are not a warrior, Alexei." The comment rubs me the wrong way. I pull back from Jay and cross my arms, glaring into the ground. Do I need to be a warrior? Jay stares at me in confusion. Why do I have to train? Is it because... I hardly want to say the words out loud after everything we've been through, but the nagging thought lies in me as I blurt out. Is it because Atlas doesn't like the way I am? Jay's narrow. How can you say that after everything you two have been through? I sigh and hang my head. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Daisy's voice though reaches my ears. I think that's a reasonable question. She stands on the porch, 2 bottles of water in her hands and a thoughtful expression on her face. Why do you and Atlas make her train so much? You didn't make me train this much when I first arrived at Alberosa. Jay sighs and takes a water from Daisy, opening the cap and passing it along to me before reaching for his own. You knew how to defend yourself, and you knew how to shift. Lexi is defensive. Daisy shakes her head and smiles. Bad things will come whether you want them to or not. You can't stop a tornado, you can only embrace it. I sputter my water up. Why would you embrace a tornado? Daisy glares at me. It's just an expression. A strange one. I whisper under my breath. Well, you could learn how to defend yourself against a tornado. Jay argues. Really, Jay? Defend yourself against a tornado? I helplessly hold up my hands. Jay, Daisy. It's not that big a deal. We don't, yes, defend. You can take cover. Look for shelter. Or if you know one is coming ahead of time, you can evacuate. Jay, hot stuff. That's a nice thought. But nature is cruel in what it wants. You can't expect me to believe that. I stand there with my eyes closed, taking in the sun and sighing as I continue to listen to the couple's bickering. I don't even know anymore what exactly has caused it. To be honest, I'm not really sure what Jay and Daisy are even arguing about. Brick houses are safer than wooden. Wouldn't it be dangerous though if the bricks hit you? No, because the house would be held together. Jay, it's brick, not titanium. I sigh in relief when I see Atlas's truck approach. He idles by but gets out when he realizes something is wrong. Sighing, he walks up to stand by me as he takes them in. They do this from time to time. I continue to watch Jay and Daisy, their argument now reaching a new level to what they would do if a tornado were to attack the pack. I don't think I've ever seen this. I admit. Atlas smiles. It just shows that they are comfortable around you. I smile at his words. What even caused it in the first place, though? I think back and suddenly remember. I look away from Atlas. My cheeks turning red. Nothing. A low growl surfaces in his chest. The last time you told me, nothing, it ended up being something. Spit it out. Lexi. I sigh and look up into his dark blue eyes. I just questioned to Jay why I even had to train. My first day here, training was the first thing you made me do. Atlas blinks back in surprise as he takes me in. You don't have to train. What? He shrugs and looks down at me. His stance relaxed. I see now that you're right. You don't have to train. There are different ways of leading a pack. I saw that when you painted in front of those pack members, or when you painted in Drive, Schulman's office. Many wolves in the pack admire it. But I know now that being an alpha can be led by force. But that doesn't have to apply to the Luna also. I stare at Atlas, stunned as I take in his words. So, don't have to train. Well, he glances around the lake, taking it in. I would still like you to, of course. After everything that's happened, I think it would appease me, even just a little, if I knew you had a chance at defending yourself. I stand there, silently appraising and thinking, ignoring the growing noise of Jay and Daisy's heated conversation about whether it was possible to make a machine that could suck in a tornado. I had never realized Atlas had changed his thoughts. I can keep training. I look up and meet his smile. But I can't reign with the beginners. Atlas nods. Are you prepared to meet new people? I look away at that. If it's for you, I think I can manage. He smiles at my words. You'll make a good Luna. Lexi. I blush at his words, my cheeks heating up from the compliment. He glances at Jay and Daisy, eyeing the two before sighing and walking away. Let's go home. I smile and glance away, hiding my happiness from him. He notices though as he opens the door for me. I feel my chest constrict when I catch his smile focused on me, like the sunrise. I always thought Atlas had the most beautiful smile. I press my hand against my chest, taking in the pounding rhythm and overdrive beat it's going into from the exposure of Atlas's smile. I glance at his hands. It's been so long since we actually touched. I can't actually remember when our last kiss was. Weeks. Maybe months ago. I sigh and lean back in my seat. I didn't know if I was ready. But then again, would I ever be ready? I close my eyes and picture that day. Those green eyes and red hair. Maybe not. Maybe it would never leave me. Maybe it would forever haunt my mind. And in some ways, he would own me forever. Just from the fact that he had been my first. He had taken that from me and claimed it for himself. But Atlas. My mind goes now to dark hair and similar dark blue eyes. Atlas had been my first love. Atlas had been my first shelter. Atlas had been the first place I called home. Atlas was the first thought upon my mind as I woke up to the morning and the last thought in my head as I drifted off to sleep. Those green eyes might have a piece of me, and they might never leave my mind. But Atlas was my everything. And all I had to do was conjure up the image of him, and that radiating smile, to cast the darkness away. Chapter 50. For I awake to an empty bed. And a note. I eagerly grab it. I loved Atlas's poetry. I frown at the word on the bottom. A location. Sighing, I get up and put on my white winter jacket and jeans, adorned with red winter boots. It was still cold outside, but the warmth was slowly spreading. The pack house was clear, wolves staying in since it was the weekend. Sandra waves at me, her same smile on her face as she tosses a breakfast bar my way. I grab it from the air and wave my thanks. As I walk out the door, I sigh as I take in the chilly morning. Another cold front, but this time it wasn't so bad. I walk towards the clinic, curious as to what the scavenger hunt will bring. I finally am able to see the building. Already I see a faint white on the door. Getting closer, I smile when I realize it's another note. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I sigh in frustration as I look back down the road. Atlas had better not be watching this. Making me walk to the clinic, only to turn around and head back to the pack house. I shake my head but press on, my curiosity getting the better of me. I could ignore them and just go to our room and paint. But Atlas had taken the time to put these notes up. Reaching the pack house, I make my way around to the back and sigh when I see the white paper that is taped to the steps. I sigh at the words. The crack of a branch has me looking up, into golden eyes. I freeze as I take in the black wolf. Atlas. The full figure emerges from the forest. My eyes widen at how big the creature is. He is eye level with my shoulders, his bulk making him as big as my own body. The wolf walks slowly towards me, cautious in his steps. I wait for my own wolf to stir within my mind, to acknowledge the presence of our mate. But she is gone. She can't have the darkness that traps her. And, as I softly watch, I don't think she wants to be saved. So I gently push her aside, letting her keep her shelter and hold up in the space of my mind for her own sake. While I refocus my full attention back to Atlas, he gently grabs the hem of my coat, tugging on the fabric to pull me forward. I've never seen your wolf before, I whisper, but he knows this. I wind my hand securely into the scuff of his neck and let him gently lead me into the forest. I take small breaths. Atlas's was with me. I was safe. We walk further and further in. I don't mind the walk. Instead I stroke the large creature, feeling the rough texture of his fur. He turns around occasionally to lick my wrist. We continue on our path until we reach a clearing. I smile at the sight of the small body of water. It must, in some ways, connect to the lake back at Jai and Daisy's cabin. The wolf barks, a command that I can't interpret. I cry out when he runs away. Wait, Atlas. He ignores me though and runs into the folds of the trees. I fidget there, suddenly aware of how vast and open the clearing is as I take in the woods that surround it. But then he is there. He emerges from where his wolf disappeared. I sigh in relief as I take in his dark coat and jeans. Those dark blue eyes. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He smiles down at me and without a word hands me another paper. I smile and eagerly take it. Your writing is beautiful, I say before bending down to examine what this piece said. Lexi, NNH. I stroke the paper, smiling down at the word. Lexi, eyes on me. I look up only to start at the sight of Atlas not standing. He was kneeling. Atlas. He laughs and shakes his head. Will you do me a favor, Lex? I nod, my heart racing as he reaches for the small pieces of paper I have. He looks at them and shuffles them around, before placing them back in my hand. Read the first word. What? Read the first word of each page. My hands are shaking as I do what he says. I gasp and the papers float to the ground. One hand on my chest. The other is over my mouth. My eyes are filling up with tears. I fall to my knees, my arms encircling him. Yes, he laughs and then we are both laughing, until his lips block out my laughter. But the rising sensation of happiness overwhelms me and small laughter still escapes from my lips. He joins in with me, holding me tight to him, yes. I repeat the word, drawing his face in my hands. My stained, paint-splattered hands. He takes them and kisses the palms of each one. Tears are coming down now. I can't stop them. Thank you, I whisper. No, Lexi. He softly brushes his lips against each of my wrists. Those deep blue eyes now ringed within gold, flickering up to me. Thank you. Wolves live by the moon, he whispers as I cling to him, his scent of pine wood and honey invading me. But I think you taught me to love by the sun. He softly brushes away my tears as he holds me there, his hands resting on my hips, always the center point for where they gravitate. I smile at the warmth he offers, the strength he gives. He was the life portrait I would always be painting. Reflecting back, I almost want to laugh at how perfect the moment seems, how romantic my cold alpha really was. Only me, you would only show this side to me, only leave his words of soul and imagery for me. Though the darkness may always be inside, I think now, I can handle it. He claimed me to be his son, but little did Atlas know as I looked into his golden eyes, The sunset rose and settled within his features, creating a perfect child of the cosmic skies. He was the one who had brought a light into my shadows. Our journey, though it seemed like it had been long and hard already, was just beginning. I had faith in him though. I knew we would make it, because like the sun that he so reminded me of, as it settled within the clouds, absorbing into the sky, the setting fixture always showed me, with indisputable proof, that endings can be beautiful too. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode of the story, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to get notifications for updates.